Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. John Henry Soto here. We are so excited. We have John J.R. Robinson is on the show today, so please hang on tight. We are.
And I think John just disappeared. What happened here? Okay. Hold on. We're recording, so let me stop this for a second. Hold on. Maybe. Oh, I think he's coming back now.
Oh,
There he is. What happened?
I don't have no idea.
Oh, that was weird.
We're
Okay.
still recording, so
We can start. We can start this over if you want.
Well, we'll edit it because it's still
Okay.
recording.
Yeah.
So let's just start the show, and
Okay.
we'll edit it. Sorry about that, John.
Go for it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the John Henry Soto Show, and we're welcoming Mr. John J.R. Robinson to the show. John, are you there?
I am. I apologize. That has never happened before. I don't know why that happened. So let's bring John on. If it happens again, I will come back. I will try to troubleshoot this on my end here. And again, I apologize, George.
We will continue doing this. So let's talk a little bit about our guest. And this is, by the way, for those of you who don't, this is one of my bucket list interviews. This gentleman, I have been following this gentleman for so long. As a drummer myself, big fan of this gentleman. So he's world-renowned Grammy-winning musician. John J.R. Robinson is a drummer to the soundtrack of our lives, literally. Having played on recordings that have sold over 500 million copies, and is considered by most the most recorded drummer of all time. John's grooves have been featured with artists such as Michael Jackson, Lady Gaga, Daft Punk, Madonna, Steve Winwood, Rufus and Chaka Khan, Lionel Richie, the Pointer Sisters, Quincy Jones, George Benson, Barbra Streisand, and that's just a tiny fraction of what he's actually done. He is also an amazing lecturer. He does motivational speaking, master classes. He does writing as well. And he's got a brand new autobiography entitled King of the Groove, the John J.R. Robinson story. It's now available on Amazon.com. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. John J.R. Robinson.
Yes, thank you.
All right, there he is.
Thank
all right.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thanks for taking the time. And John, I know it's kind of, I don't know, maybe it's someone with his internet. It's kind of going in and out here, but I wanted to, start off with you as far as just talk and kind of tell a little story, actually.
Yeah.
Because of you, John J.R. Robinson, I annoyed my bandmates constantly because every time we'd be in the studio, I would play these intros that you recorded, and from an old VHS tape I had of yours of an instructional video from like 1990 where you demonstrated all of these intros, and John will tell you because he was in the room in many of those times. So I annoyed them just amazingly with these intros that I would play, but they were good warm-ups actually for me. Yeah. So I just want to let you know that it's because of you that they got annoyed.
Yeah. For the record, I wasn't annoyed.
The most important question: did the band come in after the intros?
Right.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
That was the whole point, man. The band's gonna come in.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for being here. Again, I apologize that I'm having a little technical issues here, so I will be coming in.
Yeah. Well, there he goes. All right. So, exactly. So, all right. So let me ask you this. I want to get started on me because there's so much to talk about with you. Just looking back, did you ever even imagine that your career could be the way it is?
I didn't have, coming from Creston, Iowa, a town of 8,000 people, I didn't have an idea of anything.
Right.
You didn't know what to expect. All I tried to do was just listen to my dad and mom and stay on the path. I mean, they didn't tell me which way to go. They just insisted that I be good at what I'm doing. And and obviously music via piano and the drums took me to those directions. Basketball did also for a long time, but I just felt, I didn't know I was going to end up in Boston. And when I ended up in Boston, I was a full cultural shock. Oh my God, there's buildings bigger than 2 stories. There's people that won't say hello to you on the street.
Yes.
It's like and the pizza is really good, and just a whole bunch of new variables. Wow, look at these musicians that are from somewhere in Asia. There's just so many things I didn't. So you have to basically approach this with an open mind and an open heart.
Absolutely. John, you there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I am here, but I'm actually going to log in on my phone. So just give me a second.
We do see you though.
What was that?
We do see you.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, here I am. It's nice to be seen.
Yeah.
So all right. So he says he's going to log in on his phone here. So yeah, and it's interesting because again, I know you probably, and I think I remember because I actually dove into some of your book, and you talk about I think you did some piano when you were young as well, correct?
Yeah, and I'm still playing piano.
Really?
I started when I was 5 through my dad's prowess, and I had a couple of teachers through grade school, junior high, and then by high school I go, man, I'm too hip to play piano, man. Even though I'm always playing piano. So, I've played on hundreds of records playing piano or synth bass or synth parts.
I did not know that.
Interesting. I've scored three full movies.
Wow.
You're from the Bronx?
Well, both of us are originally from the Bronx.
Okay, yeah. I did a movie called The Bronx USA.
Really?
Okay.
Look
Danny
at
Gold,
that.
it was a very interesting thing. It was a documentary film. But,
wow.
Right now I'm in the process of being the head of music with 2 new films. So it's a completely different departure. But yes, those 2 instruments, and obviously in the same family, piano is the hardest instrument ever.
Yes.
Just by far ever. It's just, you can play, if you're playing pedals on a Hammond B3, that's pretty damn hard. But
yes.
But piano is just so difficult. And people would say that about drumming, being
right.
four limb independent.
Exactly.
So how do you do that? Well, these are a lot of this stuff came. It all mostly came natural to me with drumming, and I rolled with it.
Absolutely. Hey, John, there we see you now.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right.
Welcome back, boy. We talked a lot about you.
Yeah, I felt it. I felt my ears ringing.
Amazing stuff. So yeah, I kind of was I was a victim of the dreaded piano lessons as a kid as well. My mother really wanted me to do the piano thing, and I actually did it for about a year. Started with the 2 hands, the middle C, and the whole thing, and all that stuff. But for some reason, I didn't stick with it. I was like, all right, I kind of got bored. But drums, playing for me, it was with a little tiny kit playing to Kiss albums. That was where it was at for me. That's how it all started.
That was your generation. That was it. They were huge. And,
absolutely.
As long as you try to get passion out of your life when you're younger, because a lot of people, and I speak about this in the book also, but your parents send you a direction, and you can either not listen or listen.
Right.
People that don't listen are idiots, because your parents paved the road before you and their parents before them. So the most important thing is to follow the direction of your parents, that they're leading you, and take little bits and pieces from them. And I'm not going to become an optometrist like my father, Jack, even though he threw that at me, and I'm going. I was very good in sciences and math, and I go, but I had to get out of Dodge, and and different avenues, and follow my own thing, and then the old adage became, I turned pro when I was 10, and because it wasn't because I knew I had something, which I think that was just automatic. It was the fact that I knew that I liked this.
Yeah.
And so I chose already at 10, where most people don't choose till they're between 18 and 25,
That's right.
what
That's
they
right.
want to do. And then they've wasted all that synapses, and it's kind of ethereal, in your brain of development with, rudimental muscular memorization.
Right.
And these are things that us, when we started younger, we had this at an advantage. I mean, and I think even going before that, at age 5, learning the tones on the piano, knowing that, I've got very good relative pitch, so I can hear something on the television and go over, and I'm within a half step of what it is, and I even know what register. So, and then working with all these great singers, I developed a whole other sense of things that not everybody else knows, and I just use it as a tool belt. That's what I do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And those developmental years early on, they're so important for the foundation of what comes afterwards. But it's also not just the musical that you had, the music that's in the head. It's also those that are around you. What are they putting there? Like George and I, we're cousins. He might have told you while I was in cyberspace, but we're cousins and we played in a band together. So I remember telling him, "Hey, you should have your mother buy you a drum set for your birthday." you know,
That's
and
simple.
yeah, and he was like, "Okay," and we went. I went with him and with his mom, and we got a set, and it started this. But there was this acceptance with the music, with those that were around us, and so it was easy for us. What kind of advice do you give to those that are a little challenged? There's a little, there not only is the industry tough, first of all,
Oh, it's the
you know,
industry is
it's brutal, and but if you have in your environment also a challenge as well, we were in the Bronx, in the South Bronx, which is a rough neighborhood,
yeah.
but we loved it so much that we rose above it and became musicians and love it. And I'm a filmmaker today, and I would never never consider not doing art, But what do you say to someone that's in that situation?
Well, I mean, let's just say you're in junior high and or high school, making that transition, and if you have a chance, um, avoid the peer pressure problem. And,
Mm,
and if you're a musician, you think you like to play in the band, join the band, play in the concert band.
Yes.
And if you figure that you're in the big band realm, then join, and you'll learn so much.
mhm,
Um, and then when you get into high school, if that is kind of got your heart and soul going, then follow it through. And if your parents could afford it, and you may have a part-time job, which I was working at age. Well, I was always gigging, even with my band directors when I was 15. So that was good. But I worked in a stereo shop for a second when I was 16. So I always had money, mowing my dad's lawn because the parents were separated. But um, there's camps, there's
right.
opportunities to go to places to learn things. Even my alma mater, Berklee, they have summer camps for high school kids.
Right.
Mhm,
It may be a little more expensive going up there, but I went to, fortunate enough, to national stage band camps. I don't know if they have those anymore, but I know that there's plenty of music because I'm involved in a lot of university activity now. And if you can,
yeah.
if you get that desire, the concept that is dangerous is, okay. Let's just say we're a guitar player, which we know there's a lot of them. Uh, Not real guitar players, guys that are playing, chunky chords and think they're guitar players, is is that, well, I'm not, I'm just saying it the way it is that,
Right.
um, you know, you need to throw, sometimes they throw themselves up against a wall and see if it sticks, or they think that they can slack on their, high school common sense activities, and then kind of like falter into this rock band thing or whatever they're doing. That has to be part of your development or growth, but you got to get your studies out of the way first. You have to be able to balance both. And then once you graduate high school, in today's times, do the kids even need to go to college? That's a very debatable question. But there are trade schools are equally important. Music schools, they don't have to be Berklee or in Manhattan, but you need to have how can I say it? You need to have patience within yourself. You also need to identify who yourself is. And I think lots of times with these high school rock bands, they do it. I've probably talked to thousands of people approaching my age going, I was in a band. I was in a band. I go, what'd you play? Well, I play drums or I play guitar. I go, do you still have your instrument? No, I had to sell it when I got married.
Right.
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah.
Ouch.
I mean, I don't know if I answered it because that Bronx USA movie is entirely about that. George Shapiro goes back to DeWitt High School from, I think, class of 39. And, we did this 5 years ago. So they interacted with the class that graduated that year, 5 years ago, and how much the high school had changed ethnically. But it was the same high school. It was the same principles. And it was the story about how everything acted in and was together. But these people that we used that were in the movie all went to college, and most of them in arts, and it was just quite fascinating. So, believe in yourself, I guess, is the answer.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned something interesting there about being involved. Get involved in something and be part of something that excites you, and then try to find ways to get involved. And there are so many things here. Like I'm in Nashville right now, so and you mentioned those, the chunky chords. I know exactly what you mean. I go down Broadway, and there's a lot of that going on. But there's so many guitar players here. But at least the ones that are here they're involved, they're playing, they're doing Broadway, they're doing their thing. And I think that's an important thing. Just find the avenue that you can jump into right away, where you can actually do the thing that you love to do, even if it's not going to school. Like you said, sometimes school may not be an option, and is it really needed? I don't know.
Well, musically, it is. I mean, the odds of us joining the Beatles in 2026 are zero.
Right.
Those don't happen. And
No.
How schooled were those gentlemen? I mean, when I go back and look at these 16 to 18-year-old Beatles, they all could play. By the time they got Ringo in that band, I mean, I was watching his form, and he was holding the drumsticks correctly. He swung from an ability of being able to read and contribute to a song. All three of those other guys could play. So the question is, they had something special.
Right.
Let's say Nashville. Nashville's got Belmont. Belmont is actually quite attainable for any musician to get in.
Yes.
And the thing about Nashville is it's a songwriter's capital. And, of course, you see a million guitar players because they're all writing on a guitar. They're not learning seventh position chords like George Benson, who, in my opinion, is the world's greatest guitar player.
Yes.
No offense to Jeff Beck, it would be number two. And it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But, you tell some kid, they don't know who George Benson is.
Right. That's true.
But, there are avenues that are not Juilliard or Berklee, and they're just as good.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, we just talked about George Benson. George and I think the other day we were talking about how incredible he is, because he had this ability where he could have become this R&B vocal sensation, and he could have been this great jazz musician, but he decided to do both. So, and And
Man, I remember when I first met him, because I recorded probably 5 of his albums, and it's probably his biggest single of all time, which was "Give Me the Night."
Mm.
And then I did his version of Bobby Darin's "Beyond the Sea," which was a complete another story. You guys, it's an unbelievable story. But I met George when I was at Boston in '73, and he was playing Jazz Workshop, and he had what's the name of the acoustic jazz guitar player that he discovered? From Detroit.
I don't remember.
It's in my head. Anyway, he was wearing a CTI T-shirt, and he said to the kid who was sitting in with him, he goes, "You play your cards right, man. You'll be on CTI also." And I'm like, I'm this 18-year-old punk, like listening to this stuff going down in real. I go, damn, and he was just singing a couple of standards. He wasn't even, Breezin' hadn't even come out yet.
Wow.
So it was, working with him is quite extraordinary.
Incredible. Another thing that John and I talk about a lot on this program, and you would know this better than anyone, is the concept of saying yes. And when we say that is you, and I know you talked about in your book, especially in the 80s, 70s and 80s, your phone was ringing off the hook, right? You were the man they called, and you said yes to pretty much everything that, because you were out there, you were playing, you got your experience, you got your exposure, you got your chops, you did all that. And we talk about where sometimes if you get a call and you're like, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to pack my gear in? And, we talked about this doing gigs. Oh, I got to drive my gear all the way down for an hour to the place and then pack it in and put it back. And, exactly. And all this.
Just 1 hour.
Exactly. And so the whole concept of, and John really talks about it, the concept of saying yes, and goes back to participating and doing these things, right? Because at the end of the day, you never know who you're going to meet and who that's going to meet into somebody else, to somebody else, into somebody else, right? Where you talk a little bit about in the book how you met Rod Temperton, right? And how that whole thing started.
Right. I mean, I met Rod before we were a unit.
Right.
Because I was, I just gotten into the Rufus situation. This was before I joined in '78, but it was in '78 because Heatwave was opening up for Rufus and Chaka, and I go, man, and listening to him write, and then you see it on stage, exactly what he had written. It's not like you're with Herbie and you're playing Butterfly a different way every night. It's different, and it was like you never know. And Rod and I immediately, using what I had learned as a young adult from my parents, went up and introduced myself and talked to him and said, I'm going to be coming in to Los Angeles, and Quincy hadn't even hired him yet. And I go, I really look forward to working with you one day.
Look at that! Look at that!
Oh no!
Who knew?
Yeah.
That's incredible. You have such incredible stories. George has the book. I just ordered it, so I'm waiting for mine. It hasn't come in yet. But when you have so many stories like this, I mean, how many more books are coming? Because I almost think that it's a bottomless well.
I met just a beautiful gal named Allison Mang, who's the book producer, Canadian, and she's had 6 books out herself, like self-help, and she's actually the global awareness ambassador of Canada, which is some new thing. And but I met her just I was coming off of a J.R. Robinson band in Omaha, which was basically a Rufus clone band playing my hits, and I'm firing that up in a more jazz trio thing. But I'm burnt. I literally had no sleep, get on a plane, fly to Sarasota, start the David Foster tour the next day again, doing Florida. And this woman sits by me like all dressed down, man. And then we start talking, and, she, of course I kind of drop, stuff I've done. And she goes, wow, that's great. She goes, have you ever thought about doing a book? And I go, well, I've thought about it, but I don't know anything about it. I mean, high school, I did not take those classes. So this is all foreign stuff to me. I go, I got a whole bunch of shit in my brain. I ask people, man, I got some really good dirt on X or Y, and X and Y, and X, Y. I actually, the whole alphabet I got dirt on. And I go, I could release this, really kind of they go, the minute you do that, it's career suicide. Don't ever release dirt.
Wow.
And, you can, when I'm 95, I'll go George Burns on you. Yeah, let me do the tell-all, man.
Yeah.
So I use that, and then Allison goes, well, I'm the perfect person to meet for you to start your book. And so we started collaborating via Zoom, and pretty soon I'm in a control room now. Pretty soon my room is filled with Post-its everywhere. I mean, it looks like a bad movie. And each one says, like Richard Perry, great producer, good as gold. When I first started doing the pointers, he's good as gold. So I remembered that. So I wrote down good as gold. And like any sort of
okay.
thing I remembered or triggered, or Cool Jazz Festival 82, I wrote that down. And just holding the drumsticks the wrong way at age 8, wrote that down. And so and then I look at Allison's room, and hers is filled with Post-its. So that just started the process, or process, as the Canadians say.
Right.
How it got there, and we had so many revisions, and now that revision, that's the second release, because there were things that if you young. By the way, I have a book publishing company called Fourth Quarter Press.
Okay.
So if there are people that have started their manuscript, preferably life story, because I'm very good at this. We can. We've got a 3-tier package where we can get their book out there and guaranteed bestseller status, at least digitally. And it does work. This process works. We're new at it, but there's things like on that book where you see the word Grammy. You just see the word Grammy. Okay, do you capitalize the G? You got to put a trademark on it.
That's right.
All right. They they're like little things like that.
Those little things, yeah.
So my original book, I believe, I've got 100 copies sitting in this house, but this book, and we use different photographs. We had a whole different thing. I received my doctorate 6 weeks ago from Iowa State University.
Nice.
Oh wow, nice.
That's why we waited on that. So just a lot of growth. July 4th with the book through a company, Bedside Manor, who I'm aligned with. Puts it in 5- and 4-star hotels by the bed with other authors, and then we have a huge rollout in these hotels and the Catskills and places of importance where my book will be rolled out with some actual neurophysicist. I'm a neurophysicist. It's just called Bounty.
That's it.
Perfect fit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway,
that's great. How was it? I mean, as a member of the Q Posse throughout your career, how was it having Quincy write the foreword to that?
Well, I'm just so gracious, and he obviously passed.
Right.
We were doing. We did 2 different USC events. One, he was still alive, and it was the posse in a panel. Saida and Greg and Patty and me, and PJ was there, and Baylor was there, and Ed Eckstein. It was pretty hip, and we talked to him. Patty, Greg, and I talked to him in real time on the phone, and Patty sang a little song he sang to her when she was 4.
Wow.
It was like friggin' waterworks, and
oh my god.
And I kind of knew it was probably it. And then we came back after he had passed and did a really beautiful concert with the USC orchestra. And they put my drums all the way in the front, and I'm like, I feel sorry for the person that's sitting right there. I'm playing with a friggin' orchestra, and they wanted me to play Stomp.
Oh wow!
But I inquired about when I did my with Don Lombardi at DW, I did the Time Machine educational DVD. It was their first release about 10, 11 years ago, and we won DVD of the year. I had interviewed Quincy personally for that DVD, and he was fun, you know, and he tells stories about, I think it's in the book, about, you know, I met him in '78 before, right when I joined Rufus, and he tells stories about how he stole me from Rufus. And I basically said, really good job. That's exactly what I wanted. So, but I got him to do the forward, probably at his, he was still fairly conscious.
Okay.
So yeah, it was, you know, between him and Barbara, I got the king and queen there, so it was all good.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's an amazing story. You know, Quincy impacted, I mean, you could say a billion people.
Oh,
You know, easily. It's over a billion people when you think about it, and you know, it's not many people have been able to do that in music, and it's just incredible for you to have been part of that.
yeah.
When you look back, right, you know, now, and you look forward, because you still, you know, you have your band that you're putting together, you have the 3-piece jazz.
You know, I'm in 4 bands right now, and I go, where am I? Am I at Berklee? Where the fuck am I? I don't know.
Right.
I mean, I'll tell you about them if I want, but
yeah. So,
all right, I'll tell you. All right. I just played with Stanley Clark again last week at the Hollywood Bowl.
Wow.
And you know, he and I were in a trio with George Duke. It was called Clark Duke, and I was signed to Warner Brothers, so they were on CBS, so they couldn't put me on the cover. And so I did their first 2 records, and we had a #1 record called Sweet Baby.
Yes,
so,
great song.
And we had toured a little bit, and we were the loudest band of all time. We were 130 dB.
Wow.
So Stanley always liked playing with me because I lit his ass on fire.
Right.
and I gave him a proper downbeat.
Right.
So, that I think I could be going in and out of that situation depending on the audience and the venue. Which is, you know, it's not consistent. I have my J.R. Robinson band with 2 Midwesterners, as I am, Mitch Town on Hammond B3, and a young guitar player named Miles Jasnowski. And we're basically going to be, you know, I haven't really had my name on a band ever. You know, I'm always like part of a band, so it's a big step. And you know, there's you're wearing a lot more hats, and but we're doing like Give Me the Night, we're doing Don't Stop a different way. We're going to be doing Rock With You, Change the World. You know, maybe Higher Love, which is the world's hardest song to play live. A lot of these might be instrumentals, but you know, we're doing that. We're able to plug in then a Ledisi or some singer into the group, and you know, do that sort of thing. The other band I have, nobody knows about, and we formed it in 86, 87, 88, called Civilian, and it's with Billy Sherwood, who's the lead singer with Yes, and Asia. And Marty Walsh was an LA just phenom guitar player that I helped to get his professorship at Berklee, and he's about to retire there. And we had written 3 songs, and they're like The Police meets Yes. So it's incredibly opposite of that. And I've already cut the 2 of them and fixed stuff up. So Billy lives in London, Marty's in Boston, and I'm out in Thousand Oaks. So it's a long-term thing, but we're going to release that. So and then I've got these films. So I'm basically doing as much stuff as possible.
Wow, that's incredible. And all this can be found on your website, all the updates, and will you be touring as well?
We're working on the J.R. Robinson Band tour. We are playing David Foster's Cruise in January.
Cool.
It's I did it 2 years ago with Chris Bodie, or the last 2 years. But now David has his own crew, so I get bumped up a little bit in the hierarchy. And I'm still with
Nice.
David, of course, too, and Catherine McPhee. So
Sure.
that's the
Very
fourth
nice.
band. We're working on that. Now with this motion picture thing, it does alter schedules. So
Yeah.
but and I'm doing a lot. I got a Michael McDonald gig coming up, and I've got a major surprise. I mean, like the biggest in the world coming in October, but I can't announce it yet. And,
But
I
we're
will
be waiting for that.
I know. There's that parrot.
Yeah.
And then we formed my webmaster Joe Vella. We formed finally an official YouTube channel. There's like 1 million spinoffs, and trying to gather all. I tell these young kids, try to gather all that information and own it.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to do. So we started over, and so my YouTube channel, I think it's called Official John J. Robinson or something, and I got things like I got documentation of myself, Vinny, and Abe Jr. I'm just like the drum leader for Hans Zimmer for Pirates 2, Dead Man's Chest, and I haven't released it. And
wow.
Wow.
I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with it. I think I'm going to try to clean it up and modernize it first. And I mean, it's like our charts weren't even charts; they were printed out from like Performer, and they were hideous. I mean, and all of us are playing this weird shit, and you can see us struggling, but we can see us also smoking hard. So there's little surprises that I'm doing.
I love that. Well, I'll definitely keep an eye out if you head into Nashville.
I come in there. Our MD Bo Cooper lives in Nashville.
Okay.
From David, and it's a great guy there.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And same with New York, because I'm up in New York. So if you're ever down in New York, I'll be there.
I just want to come there and eat. Yeah,
Yeah, it's the best food.
Maybe
It's the
play
best.
Birdland.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you a little bit more technical now. I want to get into groove, because I kind of fell into the trap as a drummer, as a young drummer, of watching the Neil Pearts of the world and the Simon Phillips and Ginger Bakers of the world, and chops was it for me, right?
Right.
I wanted to see how fast my chops could go. And of course, again, when you're 18, 19, you're not thinking about groove as much, right? And then later on, I realized that everybody I'm working with, including our band, John, and even some people that have hired me, because part of the reason also, you're another inspiration for me, because I actually started doing some session work in New York City because of your inspiration.
Thanks.
But because of that, I've realized, these guys are hiring me for groove. They're not hiring me because I have fast chops or anything like that.
Right.
So I had to kind of go back and really work on my groove and my time, and to make sure. So I kind of put the chops aside and said, let's focus on feel and groove. I studied you. I studied guys like Jeff Porcaro and Steve Gadd and those guys who've got amazing feel. So talk a little bit about groove itself, and especially with young cats, because you see young cats on TikTok today who do amazing things.
Yeah, good luck getting tired.
Right, exactly. But again, the reason why you're there is because of the feel and the groove that you have like no other. That's one of the reasons why David Foster, I think, said you're his favorite drummer, correct?
Yeah, well, that's what he says. I mean, he can line through his fucking teeth. I've known him to tell a fab. However, I still fuck with him, man. If he comes in, like I've already got my sound, and then he'll walk in late, of course, for a sound check. And if he comes in and if he's in a really weird mood, I'll just play totally behind the beat. Or just totally f him up, or play some shit. But he and I are like brothers. I've been with him since '81. So and David's groove is just phenomenal. So it's I mean, listen to Through the Fire.
Yes.
Yeah. Me, David, Nathan, and Mike Landau. It just does not get any better than that. And but when right before I joined Rufus, I came out of the Berklee thing. I started with Alan Dawson, one thing that once you start to become an adult, these kids on TikTok aren't adults,
Right.
and they have no clue, and they need to understand that chops aren't really a direction. It's something that's in your tool belt.
Right. Right.
You know, like drum machines or recording consoles or microphones, or you know, you just use all this stuff in your tool belt to make you a better musician. So I was coming off in my book. I target 5 drummers, and not to shoot them in the head. I targeted them that and I explained this in the book where I use Steve Gadd, I use Jeff Beccaro, I use Peter Erskine, I use Harvey Mason, and I use Billy Cobham.
Right.
And those were five drummers that were incredibly influential to me in recording.
Yes.
And I go, you know, I became the recording drummer at Berklee in 1974, replacing a very famous unnamed drummer who couldn't play with the click track.
Wow.
And I didn't even know what the click track was. And I ended up recutting everything for Berklee for all these Music Minus One stuff. Anyway, I realized how much I loved being in the studio. And then that just kind of continued. I did some studio work in Boston, and then got with Rufus, and then immediately finished the world tour and got in the studio. And the thing is that when I would rehearse with Bobby Watson, bass player, and Tony Maiden, guitar player, Rufus, just unbelievably great players. You know, Bobby played on Rock with You, for example, and they were both with Billy Preston and stuff. They would look at me and they go, "Don't play any of that extra shit you're playing. Don't play anything. I just want you to play straight 8th notes in the hi-hat, 1 and 3 on the kick, and 2 and 4 in the snare, and make that sing, make that groove, and let us do the movement."
Yes.
And then, and it was a very interesting analogy because I was coming off Billy Cobham world, where you know I had 7 toms and which I did continue into that first Rufus tour at both of them actually, and realized that it has nothing to do with what's happening. It really doesn't, and they are out there, and I see all these drummers. I mean, shit, I got a reel of a lot of drums, but I can still set up, you know, a 3 bass drum, 10 tom drum set. You know, why? You know, and a quick story. So we're doing the Dude in 1981, late 81, 82, which was Quincy's great. If you guys have never heard the record, the listening audience, get the Dude. He won, I don't know, he won like 5 Grammys or something. There's songs like Just Once are on, and 100 Ways, and Come to Baby, Come to Me.
To me, yep.
Yeah.
And there's some other shit in there. But we were, and I tell the story there. We were set up on Monday, and I think we were in A&MA, and I had these gobos all around me, and you know, we're just getting sounds and playing around with stuff. We weren't really recording, and Lukather was on the day because David Williams had split with the Jacksons, and Greg Fillinganes, and let's see who. I think it was Abraham Sr. was playing bass. And I go, okay, cool. I'm going home, go home, get dinner, hang out with the wife one. Next day I come in and Lukather's there before me and he's laughing. And I go, "Why are you laughing?" He goes, "JR, man, look at your drums, man." And I peek over the gobo and I go, "All my drums are gone except a bass drum and a snare drum and a hi-hat." And I'm pissed. And I'm in my basketball way. I'm storming in. And Bruce Swedeen, the great engineer, big Bruce, his mustache, comes out and he goes, I go, "Hey, where's my drums?" He goes, "Quincy doesn't want any tom fills on this record." And I'm going, "Yes, sir." Hence 5 Grammys. So, you know.
Right.
There you go.
It gets in the way. They get in the way.
Yeah. And you know, it goes also for guitar players as well. I'm a guitar player, and you know, and it took me, you know, of course, I wanted to be virtuoso. I wanted to be able to do the fastest runs possible. And then you hear a guy like Jeff Beck,
Whoa.
and it's just feel. He's one note, you know, it's just melting you. Same thing with like BB King and just guitar players that really just got it. So whenever I see that, it's like a parlor trick. It's like it's a trick. It's they can go very very fast and do all these amazing things and tapping and all that. But like you said earlier, good luck getting a gig
Yeah,
because
nobody wants
what
that shit.
band is going to want? Nobody wants that. It's just it's an incredible thing to witness because we've grew up in without it, without having this internet kind of thing, and then
I
to be
know.
able to see this growth and to see people. It's great that people have an outlet and they can actually. But I really, George and I always talk about emphasizing music, songwriting,
Yeah,
songs.
that's the key.
Let's get back to songwriting, and that's why I love Nashville because there's still songs being written here. A pen and paper, guitar, couple vocals, and you and work,
Right.
and that part of it I really love. So that's an amazing story with the drums. And also I'm going to give you a little more credit on this because you could have been really really upset and been like, "You're messing with my sound, man." You know,
Right.
but
Call Terry Bozzio and let him bring his drum set in.
Right,
right,
exactly.
right,
All right, I'm going to put this out. I'm going to put this out here since now we're a live published show, or you'll put it out live.
Yeah.
yeah,
I've had an idea, and a lot of the powers that be think that I'm nuts. And my idea is, and this is my idea, and I would definitely be on the head board for the Olympic Committee to have the Olympian drummers competition.
Wow.
And I mean, if you can get a friggin' pole dancer competition, you know, why not Olympian drummers? In other words, myself, Jeff Piccaro, and Steve Gadd would not be allowed to come in.
You're right.
But
You're
we
right.
could judge, and Jeff couldn't, of course, but
Right.
we judge him from heaven. But where you get that European dude that's bouncing the stick, the weird looking dude that I forgot what his name is, and you get these freaks, these freaks that can play 30-second triplets with their kick drums
Yeah.
at 280 BPM.
Yeah.
Right.
What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
And I think it would work. I mean, honest to God, every 4 years you got this guy, and it would have to be the merit based. Would have to be speed, and dynamics with speed,
Right.
and no slow notes, and make some sort of a musical thing. But it's freaky. It's almost like a cyber robot.
yeah. It is. It is.
Anyway, it's
I
a
see it.
crazy idea, but I think it'd be fun.
Yeah. I think the fact that people think you're crazy, I think it means it's because it's a good idea.
That's
and
right.
because and I think that is a great idea. And it's also if you take like ice, like figure skating or something, there's
Right.
these dynamics in it. That's what they look for. Obviously they look for the jumps and the crazy spins, but there's also this flow. I think if you can incorporate all those elements into the competition, that may be something that where they can actually shine and show what they do because. Once you see it once, you kind of got it. And where can that be used other than showing it on social media? It's not like it's going to go on a record. And if it goes
Right.
on a record, nobody's going to see it.
Right.
It's on a record. It's got to be visual.
I mean, I'm not even into Norwegian speed metal. Does it exist today?
Sure.
I don't know. I don't know. But I mean, I would watch it. And if we're watching, UFC, there's a certain audience for
Yeah.
UFC.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's a certain audience for left turn only NASCAR.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Well,
That's right.
well, people
I
watch
know.
curling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, my gal Allie, is Canadian, so I mean,
There
curling
you go.
is huge.
It's a big thing. It's huge. Yeah.
Huge,
Wow.
huge thing.
You know,
Yeah.
I
Wow.
mean, you could take that a step up too, but she goes, no, that would ruin it. Forward,
Oh wow!
Oh, God.
I know.
I wanted to
Well-
ask you just really quick. I wanted to ask you. John and I grew up on music 70s and 80s, and that's kind of where my heart is as far as the music. I think that those eras was the best in my opinion, of course. And I always say I'm the get off my lawn type of guy, but That's just where my heart is. Not to say that
Right.
there's not great music today. There is great music today, but I think it's very, very different. And then there was an Atlantic article, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this. I don't know if you saw this, that said that 70% of the streaming now is music from that era.
Interesting.
So, and I just want to get your thoughts on that. What do you think about music today versus, back then?
Oh, there's just no question that music today is robotically assembled. I mean, I'm a producer. I'm working in the full level of Pro Tools. I mean, I use it as the tools that I need to do. But to cut and paste, or we start sounding like our parents, don't we?
Yes,
oh my
exactly.
God, Woody Herman Big Band, or Buddy Rich, or Buddy Rich is still the best. But
Right.
But I used to say, being in Rufus in '78. There was no MTV, and when we actually did a video, we did a video, and it wasn't like it was a David Lee Roth video. It was we just went out and played. But I used to say that when 1980, when MTV started, it ruined rock and roll.
Yeah,
A lot of people go, "How does that happen?" Because now we can see it. Yeah, you're seeing actors on stage, is what you're seeing generally, and it ruined the listening intelligence quotient. So anybody that's into listening, and if you are a digital listener, that's fine. I'm an analog whore, so I got 2 separate analog stations with albums, and depending on what kind of speakers I want to listen to or what kind of amplification, I prefer old tube Pioneers, and that's that sort of thing, and then the way it sounds. But it, when I was a little kid, and we had a Woolworths, and we can't get any records. There's no record store, so you call up the Woolworths or walk up there and order Grand Funk Railroad.
Right.
And 4 weeks later, is this John Robinson? Yeah. Your record's in, and
look at that.
Bring $2.98. I go, oh, okay, and blah 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 blah. But it and then you read the liner notes, and you immersed yourself into what they were thinking audibly, and now it's become so lazy, and especially now with the internet being so advanced. And I mean, I can't stop progress. I use it every day, but and I have my younger son, Jack's almost 24. He's a great musician and drummer, and he gets it because I guess I'm his dad. But these other kids, they don't. I'm not saying don't, but they need to really respect how we got here, and then like I respect how I got here.
Right. It's the study of those that came before us. I mean, that's what's going to make the future better. It's just having that knowledge. It's also interesting when you mentioned the Woolworth, because there was this whole anticipation of waiting, and as a filmmaker, or even watching Netflix, people like these they binge watch these shows and you're done. And I just remember having to wait a week for my favorite show, and having to wait for a record, and then have to go find it, and then go through the records and find that record, and you open it up and you read and when there's the liner notes and when the lyrics are in there, oh man, found it's like, wow, the lyrics are here too. And that seems to just be gone in this digital world. And now with AI even going even deeper into human creation just being kind of not thought of in those, but the article, the Atlantic article, just proves it proved clearly. And not just that article, there's numerous articles. These new songs don't have any shelf life. This is why people still go back to 70s, 80s, and even early 90s material, because it's just no shelf life. And what you said earlier, it's just these young people have to respect what happened. Why are we here?
They don't like even to be told that.
Right.
No, they don't.
Because look at what we see on television every day with this political bullshit, and I'm not going to align any side here, but you can see the stupidness on one side. And
Yep.
I'm gonna go back to myself. The '60s. Don't forget the '60s, because
That's
even
right.
though there was some weird things going on, and then the United States finally got the Beach Boys, but we had, we had blues in the '50s, and then that developed into this other crap. But then there was some really cool stuff that was generating from the United States in the mid to late '60s, which led it into the '70s and what happened. And you
Yeah.
know, like a band like Sly
Mm.
was people may visually see it one way, but it was as pop can be.
Yep.
And
That's right.
I think the president's landing in my yard. But I mean, that group changed the face of little Billy and Johnny from my neck of the woods. Man, you listen to
Yeah.
Sly and the Family Stone, and like you may not be a musician, but it's in it. You're feeling it, and I remember hearing "Sitting on the Dock of the Bay." I don't remember what year that came out. 71.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, God, this is some hip shit.
Yeah.
Listen to
Yeah.
this, and just listen to the way it made me listen to the melody, but it was it was groove based, and it was
Yes.
very hip stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I talk a lot about also Motown. The fact that they were in this, small space, but they were all had this one purpose of just creating the grooviest tunes, and some of the best artists ever came out of that. That came out of there, and that seems to kind of now be so corporate. Where can you even have a small label that can create an impact? I think you can, because I think if you have the social media knowledge and you have the ability to actually market, and using the distribution channels that we have, I think there is a future there. But I think it's got to be somebody crazy that says, I'm going to create this, and I'm going to bring these artists together, and I'm going to put something out, and I'm going to promote it here, and we're going to promote it, and it's our material, and we're just going to get it out there, and we'll do shows in different areas, different locations, and that might be the future, the way I kind of envision it, going back to music, because people really want it.
They do want it, but remember, the vehicle that we ended up getting it was we had a live disc jockey in a region, let's say Harrisburg.
Yeah.
And we got so we're going to go do an in-stop at the warehouse where our product is, meet the people that are literally packaging it. Then we're going to go to the radio station locally and grease that jock somehow. I'm just going to stay out of that.
Yep.
And then he goes, okay, I like what I got, and I like this one song, and this is the song they like, so we're going to play it once a day for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then they're going to see their local ratings, and that generally is the way it was.
Yeah.
And the bigger you were in those days, the more money you greased with, the bigger the record got played. And now you don't see disc jockeys. Everything's in a can or on Sirius XM, and the locals are local colleges, and they have their small following, but there's several variables missing to your theory, and one is the songwriting is rare, or is it still there and the kids today don't care about AABAC form?
Right.
There's a lot of variables. If I meet a billionaire that's willing to let me form a new record label, then you got to grease the artist a little bit, control them, let them be musical, and then you have to have a machine and a platform to release it and get it out there so people can hear it. There, and you guys would agree with me. I think there's way too much music out there right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking away from these people, but God, it's like grown like a virus in a bad way. I don't know. I guess now at this age, I can speak like an old guy.
Well, I do. We don't want to keep you too long because we appreciate you spending the time with us. Being in Nashville, I do actually hear amazing songwriters.
I
There's
bet.
songwriting groups, and I think that there are, and I go out as often as I can, and I've met a tremendous amount of people here. So I think that there is something there, and the distribution channels are what really has to be kind of figured out, because that's really what you're talking about with the radio stations, for instance. That was the distribution. The best way you can distribute your record was to go to a record company and
Right.
give them some loving, and then have them do that. And in today's world, we have these tools and these platforms that we also have access to as well, with just a little bit of funding as well. So I think that there is something there. I don't know what it is, but I'm always looking and I'm always trying to figure it out. Um, but sir, we want to thank you so much for spending this time. I feel like we could. I think we just got here, and I feel like this could be like a weekly series with you.
We can do a follow up. I mean, it's easy, and
Yeah.
as more stuff I get. I mean, I know I kind of like went into preach world here, but
No, I
you
love
know,
it.
there's a lot of information that these kids. I mean, we're not even talking about the new Slingerland contract that's
Mm,
happening, and my new
Wow.
Istanbul Mehmets, and just a
wow.
lot of good shit that's going on. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's about informing the audience about what moves them. And I got to tell you, one last thing is, one thing that moved me was when I saw women dancing. And
Oh.
when I got on the stage, I mean, I'm not looking at the men, but when I got on, let's just say people, when I got on the stage and started playing with someone, I don't care what age I was, from 15 on, in these clubs, they would get up and dance, and they still get up and dance.
Right.
And I'm going, well, this is good.
Yes.
It makes people feel uninhibited and relaxed and having a good time the way people should be. And
Correct.
so that's what I like to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I agree. Like, one
Amazing.
really quick, one thing that the best compliment I ever got with playing with a group was, I remember somebody came up to me and said, "That felt good."
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like, there it is. That's the reason. This is why
Yeah.
I'm here, So
Yeah.
it's all about the communication and the feeling
Yeah.
and everything. That's what we do. That's why
Yeah.
we're communicating our art and what we feel, and then they're taking it in and feeling it. It's an amazing thing.
In real
Of course,
time.
that was me that
Yes.
told. Of course, that was me that told George.
Well,
But still,
there's some cousin shit going on there, but
Yeah, busting my chops for the last 50 years. What else is new?
hey, I'm glad you two are still hanging, man.
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. Okay, John Robinson, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you so much. We'll definitely be following and all that information. By the way, anybody interested, all the links for everything is in the description wherever you see this video.
Check
So
out
make
his
sure you
book
get the
here.
book. Yep, get
King
the
of the
book.
Groove, John Robinson's book, amazing, on Amazon.com.
God.
And I'm really looking forward to reading it as well. I'll have some reviews and some more comments as we go along. John, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Send me the edited link, and George and John, thank you guys so much. And
I will.
kiss New
care.
York and kiss Nashville.
Thank
All
you,
right,
sir.
you got it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Woo.
Wow.
That was awesome.
That was fantastic. That was great. I went better than I thought it was. He's such a just an open, in your face
Just
guy.
has and he's lived it, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
so it's like he's speaking from so much experience, being
Yes.
able to just navigate through that industry and be able to share what he's, and I'm serious. He could literally do 10 episodes and
Yes.
would never run out of stories, and I'm
You're
sure
right.
that those post-its that he has are just going to be incredible for whatever follow-up we have. So
Right.
awesome. George, thank you very much. Everyone, appreciate it. Thank you for some of the technical things, but we got it done. We got John Robinson in the can, and we're very excited to have more, and we'll bring you more very, very soon. So take care of yourselves. God bless you all. And as always, peace.
Peace.